Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I am your host, Nelson, here on this Monday afternoon. And there's a little bit of, it's not really many games to talk about for basketball. And the games don't start up until a couple more months. And there's a lot of news going on around, football, college season just started, and the NFL season is about to start. So if you're interested in any of those sports, we also have, football podcasts that cover those things. So, if basketball isn't, the only thing that you guys like to listen to, you could also listen to our football podcasts. I highly recommend listening to those. But for basketball today, we're going to talk about how Shaquille O'Neal was left a little unimpressed after the United States winning the Olympic gold medal. And so I'm just going to talk about my opinions on that. Then in the second segment, I'm going to talk about some players that have the potential to be future stars of the NBA. And then in the third segment, I'm going to talk about some NBA players getting drug tested after the Olympics and, Anthony Edwards and things that he had to say regarding that. And then in the fourth segment, I'm going to talk about LeBron and Steph possibly hinting at something on Instagram. And then in the fifth segment, I'm going to continue on with my segment of players who I feel like didn't deserve the MVP in a specific year. I won't reveal who the player is until the end of the fourth segment, so be sure to stay tuned for that if you're interested to figure out who that is. And then before I begin, I'd like to remind everybody that we love to listen to what you guys have to say during the show, and whether you have a burning question or a hot take on the game or something that you've been dying to share, we're all ears. And if you really want to make sure that your comment or question gets noticed, you can go ahead and use Super Chat. You can just hit the $ below the chat box, send in your message. It's guaranteed to get featured on the show. It's also a great way to support our channel, and your Super Chats are very helpful. And a Super Chat isn't really your thing, then you can also use the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment, gsmcpodcast.net. Either one of those really helps the show, and you can do either or. It doesn't matter. If you really want your comment to get noticed, you can use Super Chat or use the link in the ticker or the description. And with that out of the way, let's go right ahead and talk about Shaq and how he was unimpressed after the Olympics. Now, if there's any, former NBA player that completely dislikes most of the NBA players in today's NBA now, it's probably going to be Shaq. Like, the only player that we know that Shaq really likes is Steph Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And he really likes Giannis partly because Giannis reminds him of himself, being, that very dominant force in the paint that no one can stop regardless of, who's in the paint. And aside from, those two, Shaq doesn't really like that many players in the NBA. He doesn't like Rudy Gobert. He doesn't like Joel Embiid. He likes Jokic, now that I think about it, but it's like you have to be completely insane if you don't like Jokic. But aside from that, he doesn't really have that many people that he likes watching in the league. And, him saying that he's not really impressed with the United States and them winning the gold medal isn't really that surprising, considering, his strong dislikes towards a lot of NBA players. And so when the Dream Team completely annihilated opponents by the average margin of 44 points in 1992 in Barcelona, only 22 active or former NBA players were on an Olympic squad that wasn't the United States. So the United States, a team full loaded with NBA players in 92, was going up against, such weak competition and so many other countries that were just, lacking in terms of NBA level talent. And when the Paris Olympics ended up happening, the United States, they ended up beating teams by an average margin of 19 points. And when you look at it that way, you would think that, like, okay, the Dream Team, they were a much more dominant team when you look at the average margin of victory. But you also have to understand that the United States in 2024 were going up against 69 active or former NBA players in the 11 countries that they represented. So even a 6-year-old kid could deal more competition, including a 3-time reigning NBA MVP and future MVP, had a more challenging path to the gold medal. So Shaq was, for some reason, least impressed by the exploits of LeBron in Paris, mainly because he disagrees with the world getting close and catching Team USA in the Olympics and in international play. So Shaq told he was talking on the big podcast. He was saying, "I have a dominant personality. I don't care who you are." My cousin Kenny just had this argument upstairs. He said the world is getting close, but I don't think it is. The fact that Team USA, went 97-95 in the semifinal, you only beat South Sudan by 1. Come on, that's never supposed to happen. So, he's on the side of, believing that Team USA should have won by a much larger margin of victory, as opposed to the margin of victory that they won by against all of those teams. Now, I was a little disappointed at the fact that they didn't win by so many points in a couple of those games, but it doesn't matter at the end, how many points you win by, as long as you win. So at the end of the day, I'm not really losing that much sleep at the end of the fact that, the United States almost ended up losing to Serbia, because, while that was true, they didn't. So there's no real need to lose that much sleep over the fact that the game was close. So what that the game was close? And Shaq is just one of those people that just doesn't like the fact that the score was close, considering how he played in an era and he grew up watching an era where the United States was just so much better at basketball than every other country that they went up against. And it's just uncharacteristic for the United States to lose in a sport as popular in their country as basketball. And, in fairness to Steve Kerr's team, the 1-point win over South Sudan was an exhibition game, and they beat the African team by 17 points in the actual Olympic tournament. So the semifinal game against Nikola Jokic's Serbia also saw Team USA be able to mount a ridiculous comeback and win in the close game and against a team that's full of NBA talent. Aside from Nikola Jokic, there was also Bogdan and several other players on the team that had NBA experience. Well, there's only 2 other players on the team that have had that, but aside from that, it was a pretty competent team, and they ended up winning. They ended up winning the bronze medal, which is a third place medal is better than not getting a medal at all, because Germany and Canada, 2 of the teams that were considered to be one of the favorites to win or be in the competing race for a medal, they both ended up leaving with nothing. So the fact that the Serbian team ended up getting a medal is just, impressive in of itself. And they had to contend with, in the finals, they had to contend with Victor Wembanyama, who's like already made a name for himself in the NBA. And he's the kind of player that no other person or NBA player has seen in their entire life. And he's arguably like one of the most difficult opponents that Team USA has ever had to face, because let's face it, like there's no other team that has had a player as tall and as versatile as Victor on their team in the Olympics. And regardless of where Shaq stands, it can't be denied that the world hasn't caught up in the the race for being a good basketball team, and in the race against the United States, and in the sort of competition between the United States and the rest of the world. So Shaq won only one Olympic gold medal as part of the Dream Team Part 3 in 1996 in the Atlanta Games. So, he also played in an era where the United States just completely dominated the other team. So it makes sense how he would think that this is how the United States are supposed to play, and you're not supposed to have a close game whatsoever when you are the United States team. So, it makes sense. At least he's able to back up his talk, and he's not just, talking just to talk. So that's it for the first segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the second segment, where I talk about some future NBA stars, players who I think have a chance of being the face of the league. Now, again, this is my list, so this is mainly my opinion. I'm mostly giving my opinions. If you think I missed a player, then let me know in the comments who you guys think I missed. So I just wanted to let everybody know that before I go for a break in this segment, and I'll go ahead and restate it again in the second segment. So I will be right back.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the second segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this second segment, I'm going to be talking about some NBA players that have the potential to be future stars. So again, this is mainly going to be my opinion, and I'm using a lot of players from Bleacher Report, and I'm just giving my opinions on how much of a star I think they can be, what kind of ceiling they have, and